Welcome to our house. This is the Screenplay Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Grenis, and with me, as always, is PGA Tour player Andrew Novak.
What's up, everyone? We're 3 weeks in. We're officially getting to the part where some teams' seasons are hanging in the balance, and yeah, let's talk some football.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Screenplay_podcast. New episodes every Wednesday, 8 a.m. on podcast streaming platforms. Also, we have partnered with Wager Games. They're giving our listeners a $100 deposit match on their first entry on the Sleeper app. Andrew and I use the Sleeper app. We love it. Head over to our Instagram page, click the link, promo codes, get your $100 deposit match. I'm looking at it right now. I like the CD Lamb more than half a touchdown on Thursday night against the Giants. Again, head over to our Instagram page, click the link, get the promo. All right, week 3, we had our first dose of 2 games on Monday night. Now, we talked about this last year. I'm usually against it, but when the first game is a blowout and you know it's over in the
Yeah,
first quarter, you're like,
yeah.
oh, all right, thank God there's another game. And that other game was great to watch. Like, I couldn't take my eyes off that Commanders Bengals game in the fourth quarter. But let's start with the earlier one. The Bills defeat the Jaguars 47-10. Bills get to 3-0. Jaguars fall to 0-3.
Yeah, I mean these are two teams heading in opposite directions right now. Uh, Buffalo looks legit. Offense, defense, everything is clicking. Um, super impressed. Full team performance for sure.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the no turnovers. 9 touchdowns, no picks for Allen. He played a great game. But I was watching this game. I was listening to the announcers. I couldn't figure out why the Jags were just staying in man coverage all game. Like, I get it. Josh Allen dices up the zone, but on the man coverage, I mean, he was hitting any receiver he wanted with the crossing routes, and if they weren't open, he was taking off, and they couldn't touch him. I thought it was a bad game plan by the Jags. They don't have a good secondary, and the Bills just feasted all over them.
I think the idea with the man was to try and be a little more aggressive. I mean, the Jags defense has been so bad. Uh, I think you're trying to force something to happen, force a turnover. I mean, Josh Allen in the past has been a little careless with the ball at times, but that just did not happen.
But when you're playing man and Josh Allen takes off, all of your
Yeah,
defensive players, your
yeah,
back is to him, and he's getting 10, 15
correct.
yards on it. He did it a couple times on third down
Mhm.
on the same drive. So I just think it was not a great game plan by the Jags. Let's move on to the next game. Much more interesting. Commanders beat the Bengals 38-33. I don't know too many people who were on the Commanders here. I think everyone thought the Bengals were going to blow out the Commanders, but Jayden Daniels with a breakout game, 21 of 23, 254, 2 touchdowns, no picks, another rushing touchdown. Highest completion percentage ever out of a rookie quarterback. He's got no turnovers, leads the league with completion percentage at 81. Cliff Kingsbury and that offense are rolling right now with the rookie.
Yeah, neither of these defenses are very good, or were very good in this game. But I don't think either defense is great to begin with. It was super impressive to see how efficient Daniels was running that offense. I mean, they just marched up and down the field every third down, running the ball, passing the ball. It didn't matter. He was making the right play. Like, some guy comes up on him, jukes him out, makes sure to get the first down, gets down on the ground, moves around, finds the throwing lane, just finds a guy in the middle of the field open. Like he was doing everything perfectly that he needed to do. I mean, he was like in a flow state. It was super impressive. And definitely with how the other rookie quarterbacks have played this year is not something we've seen out of them.
Yeah, the happiest person right now has to be Tressway. He's the punter for the Commanders. This dude makes
No,
$3.4 million a year, which comes out to $200,000 a game. He hasn't punted in the last 2 games. He's made a nice $400,000 traveling with the team. Got to be a pretty
doing
happy
nothing.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Burrow, I mean, Burrow played well, 29 of 38, 324,
Mhm.
3 touchdowns, no picks. So what I think it comes down to is that the Bengals are just like not a very good team with a good quarterback.
So
I mean, when you take a
it's going
deep
to
dive
be,
into the numbers, their
yeah,
defense is just not good. And on offense, it's kind of pedestrian as well, except for hitting
yeah.
Jamar Chase a couple times.
I think it's going to be a year that sets up really nice for Joe Burrow stat lines. I think fantasy appeal is absolutely there because they're going to have to score all year long. They're going to be giving up points. and they're pretty much just going to have to be scoring every single week. So Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow stock's definitely going up. But yeah, it's just not a very good team. Like he is a good player, he's a good quarterback, but there's not enough around on this team to get it done, especially in that division right now with how it's looking.
So the Bengals fall to 0-3. Up next, they got Panthers, Ravens, Giants, Browns. I'm not counting the Bengals out yet. If they
And
beat the
then well, they have
Panthers,
Philly. They have Philly the
yeah,
next week after that too. I mean, I don't see.
the big game I have marked right there is the Ravens. If they can beat the
Yeah,
Ravens in 2 weeks, and be at what, 2-3, they're right back in it.
I mean that 5 game stretch. I feel like they kind of need to play at like 4-1 at worst.
Oh, at 0-3, they need to get hot now.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
exactly. So
Let's move on to Sunday night football. Chiefs defeat the Falcons 22-17. Chiefs are having kind of that like New England Patriots, or if you want to go golf, Tiger Woods effect, where they don't really have to do anything. They just have to like play their game and the other team vomits all over themselves. The Chiefs are really good at just not losing the game. I mean, Mahomes is not even playing well and they're 3-0.
yeah, he's been doing so. It's not even just like the turnovers. Like obviously the turnovers haven't been good. The pick this week, I feel like Justin Simmons always gets him, but eh, he's like missing throws that I feel like he doesn't miss, or maybe not even missing them, but the ball placement's like a little off from where like you've maybe seen it in the past. It's maybe a little timing thing. Maybe this goes back to, well, I guess Chiefs players do play in the preseason a bit, but it's just a little off. I think he'll be fine, but luckily, unlike Burrow, he has a team around him, and especially a defense around him that can get the job done even when he's not at his best.
Yeah, they have a young defense. They're fast. They're good. They might be carrying this team all the way up into the playoffs. Mahomes has 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. It's the most picks he's ever had through 3 weeks. He's at his lowest yards per game he's ever had through 3 weeks. So the fact that
Well,
he's not playing well and they're 3-0,
uh,
that's a scary sign, I think, right there.
we've always talked about Mahomes being a bit of like a September merchant. Like he always gets off to hot starts. I feel like he always has some big games early on in September and or early in the season. He's put up some huge performances, and it's just like been a little bit slower start for them. But again, you look at it, they're 3-0. Like what else can you really ask for? I mean, if you want him playing his best, I'd rather him playing his best at the end. You know.
Yeah, and Kelsey's not even doing anything. I mean, 8 catches for 69 yards, no touchdowns through 3 weeks. Honestly, watching him play, he looks like he looks like he lost half a step this offseason. I don't know. Like I say that
I
every year,
feel like
but like he had a couple
I
drops. He looks a little slower. Uh it just
I
didn't
actually
quite.
I
What
thought
do
he
you
looked
think?
okay in this game. I there were a couple times where he was doing his little like jogging slow thing, and then he had like a little bit of suddenness to it, created some separation. He did have that one get punched out of his hands on a third down that was, not ideal, but I think it's there. I think teams are keying on him a lot. I think with how much work Rashee Rice has been getting, I think you'll see teams kind of counter back off of that. And if they start trying to take him away, that'll open it back up for Kelsey. I think it's a little bit of pick your poison there. Obviously, you still have to, you know, worry about that 4.2 speed taking the top off you with Worthy. But I think Kelsey's still going to get his. He looks better to me than Mark Andrews as far as just mobility.
Yeah, we'll get to the
But
Mark Andrews
like,
thing.
yeah, but again, like Kelsey is older. Like he's not going to be crazy fast, but I don't think he's like can't move out there. I saw a few routes in this Falcons game where I was like, okay, Kelsey, he still got it.
Yeah, I mean, if you drafted Kelsey in your fantasy league, you're probably not happy through 3 weeks. And
No tight
exact
end owners
opposite.
are right now. Like
No. And then
tight ends
exact
have been a
opposite on
nightmare so far.
Rasheed Rice. I mean, he
Yeah,
is absolutely killing it. If you have him on your team, you are probably loving it. All right,
I think
let's.
I think it's very very likely possibility Rashee Rice ends up leading the NFL in catches this year. Just because, especially with this Pacheco thing, it seems like they're going to want to just do a lot of the short, quick passing game, and he's the guy for that. So I would not
Yeah.
be surprised if he ends up leading the NFL in receptions.
Thursday night football, Jets beat the Patriots 24-3. I had money on the Patriots after the first quarter. I knew that lost. That was a bad bet. I don't know why I did that. Felt good, felt right. It
Yeah,
was
you're
not.
a
It was
Homer
not.
fan, but
I mean, the Jets looked really good.
It's that San Fran run. The San Fran run game just made you bite on being a Jets run defense can be exposed. Jets got a decent run defense. It's there. It's just that San Fran run game sometimes gets people. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets looked good. The Patriots looked really bad. The O line for the Patriots is terrible. The Jets D were absolutely teeing off on Jacoby Brissett. Whoever was behind that O line was going to get mauled all game. Drake May got some time. I don't know why. I I didn't really get that play. I took this game more as the Patriots suck rather than the Jets are really that good. What about you?
I'm gonna touch on a Drake May point. I think the idea is, ease him into action, see what you got. At least I'm assuming at some point in time this year, Drake May is going to start for the Patriots. I don't know when it'll be, but I'm assuming at some point in time. And I think they're just trying to get him a few reps ahead of time. So it's, hopefully slowed down a little bit and he's not freaking out too much when they send him out there ready to go.
Yeah, Rodgers 27 of 35, 281, two touchdowns, no picks. I hate Rodgers so much, and he's so good. I mean,
He
his
looked
ball
pretty good. Yeah.
placement was absolutely ridiculous. Didn't miss a throw that I was watching. I hate seeing him do well. Whatever. Rams beat the 49ers 27-24. The Rams had absolutely no business winning this game. 10-point deficit, fourth quarter. No Puka, no Cup. The Rams special team came up with the win here. The 49ers special teams did not perform. Kyle Shanahan, if there's one thing to knock him for, it's his fourth quarter blown leads. He's starting to stack a couple of them up now. Here's another one. I mean, Purdy played well. Obviously, the weapons weren't there, but Sean McVay, Kyron Williams, Matt Stafford, the Rams, I don't know how they snuck this win out. I never thought it was going to happen until it did.
Yeah, it kind of felt like San Fran had this game in the bag the whole time, and then it just kind of fell away. Uh, they kind of did this last year. San Fran had a little 3-game skid when Debo got hurt. Um, Obviously, their offense still looked like it was clicking fine, but for whatever reason, having Debo in the games just leads to more wins for them. I mean, obviously, a very, very good player, but hopefully they can get their guys back. Debo and Kittle both out. Obviously, McCaffrey out as well. This is a team that's going to take it safe. They know they're making the playoffs. They're a good enough
See,
team. They're going to.
that's where I don't know. I'm looking at some of these facts here, and you got Hargrave, who's now out for the season. Okay. Christian McCaffrey just flew to Germany to see a specialist. What like that's a little sketchy. Trent Williams left this game with cramps. He also left the first game with IV. Kittle's out. Debo's out. Ayuk's doing whatever Ayuk's doing. Let's look at the schedule coming up. They play the Patriots. All right, they're gonna win that game. Then they got some serious division matchups coming up. Cardinals, Seahawks, then they play the Chiefs and the Cowboys. There's a world where the San Francisco 49ers, let's see, they're going to beat the Patriots. They could drop 3 of the next 4 with all those injuries out. The Trent Williams thing staying healthy through the season bothers me. What if the 49ers fall to, what is it, 2-5? I mean, they gotta.
Yeah, I feel like they're winning some. They're not going to. As long as they're getting Debo and Kittle back, I have faith in this team. This defense should still be good. I mean, they lost a weird kind of fluky game. They have things to clean up, but again, it's still this team. I think they're going to win enough games, even if they don't win the division. They don't care. They just need everybody healthy or as healthy as they can be, ready to go when the playoffs show up.
Yeah. So Brock Purdy, if you watch this game, I think this game, even though they lost, kind of puts that to bed where people are like, Purdy's not that good. He went 22 of 30, 292, 3 touchdowns. He showed his mobility. He's plenty mobile. This was with no Debo, no Kittle, no CMC. I really thought Purdy, he's just a really good quarterback, whether Debo and CMC are out there or not.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's been in the system for 3 years now. It's his third year, and he runs it well. He runs it. I mean, he knows how to distribute the ball to his playmakers, and they're just plugging guys in. Jawan Jennings comes in and goes absolutely nuts. I do think he is a pretty underrated wide receiver as things go. He's been pretty consistent. Anytime he does get reps, he has shown the
Would
ability
you say
to
he's
make
the
some plays.
best number 3 wide receiver in the league?
Oh, that's a crazy statement. I think he is very good in a system that has many uh, other playmakers that teams have to account for, and sometimes that ends up with him basically getting forgotten about a bit. But yeah, I'd say he's a good wide receiver. I don't know. I'd have to kind of go through on number 3 wide receivers.
I mean, I guess
I
Seattle's got a couple a decent
I would
3.
say, yeah, like JSN is, if
Maybe
you're counting him at
Houston's
third,
got a
is pretty
good
good.
3.
Tank Dell is, yeah,
Yeah. But he's up there in that
it'd be
top
pretty tough
5
to say. He
best
is he
best
is a
third wide
very
receiver.
good, yeah, he is a very good coming in off the bench, do his job. Obviously had a huge blow up game this
I
week.
mean, did you see some of the
Um,
catches he made? He mossed like a couple of cornerbacks out there.
yeah,
It wasn't just like he was hitting him an open stride. He made some
mhm,
catches.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
nice to watch. All right, the Ravens beat the Cowboys 28-25. Don't let the score fool you. The Cowboys were never close. They were never going to win this game. Dallas has the worst run D in the league, and Ravens have 2 of the best runners in the league with Henry and Lamar. So you could see this coming. I bet the Ravens. It was one of the bets I have hit. Uh, Pretty easy one. Dak threw the ball 51 times. You can't have Dak throwing it 50 plus times, but he also doesn't have any run game. So I don't really know what the Cowboys are supposed to do. Lamar didn't even have to throw the ball. Lamar was a running back this game. He ran the ball as many times as he threw it. He has more rush attempts than completions. Um, they literally came into the game. They said, we're going to run the ball. They ran the ball. They didn't change, and they kind of blew the Cowboys early and quickly.
Yeah, they had a very clear idea of how they wanted to play this game out, and they came out and basically Dallas never gave them a reason to change what they were doing. It was going to be pound Derrick Henry, let Lamar come off of that, and every once in a while maybe sneak a pass on him and catch him, unawares, and it worked. Crazy efficient offensive day for the Ravens, and unless Dallas gets the run D sorted out, I just don't see how they're going to be able to win enough games because you can't win when the other team can just chunk you 5-6 yards all the way down the field.
Yeah. Ravens schedule coming up. They got the Bills this week at the Bengals and then the Commanders. They're 1-2. How do you feel about the Ravens being 1-2 with a tough couple next games?
We talked about it last week on the pod. Like they had to win this game. Like this, you can't be going to 0-3.
Yeah, I
They
think it
got
was our
that done.
must-win game of the week.
They got that done, which was good to see. But they've got these next 2 games are going to be tough. Like Bills, obviously, a very very good team, and then on the road, a division rival playing the Bengals, who are also off to a slow start and are going to
That
need to
game is the
win.
Bengals season right there. Like they're going
Yeah,
to be giving their heart out. So they got
yeah.
a couple tough
So,
games coming up next.
but 2 of their next 4 are primetime games as well. So it's again, like yes, they got the win they need, but they're going to still have to ride some of that momentum. Again, this is another team I'm not super concerned about yet. I think the Ravens are good. The Ravens, I think how they played this game is who they want to be. Um,
I
a little
agree.
bit more
Giving
like
Henry
I think
25 attempts. That's what
they
I'm
had a
talking about.
they had a 3-to-1 ratio on the runs. I think it might end up sitting like a little closer to 2-to-1. But essentially, this is what they want to be as a football team. And obviously, the fourth quarter they kind of let off a little bit, but this is the blueprint, and I think they're kind of finding their way here.
All right, the Panthers beat the Raiders 36-22. You took the Panthers this week, plus the points. They just straight up went out there and won. Andy Dalton put on an absolute show, 26 of 37, 319, 3 touchdowns. Had an absolute dime to Adam Thielen. He got hurt on the play, but what a throw. Deontay Johnson looks like a great receiver. Thielen looks like a great receiver. Hubbard looks like a good running back. And all of this happened because they put Andy Dalton in. So this confirms that Canales made the right decision, whether it came from him or upstairs. It confirms that Bryce was a big problem in the offense. You're a Panthers fan. What did you see?
Yeah, it took about, I don't know, 3-4 plays into the game to realize, okay, yeah, I mean, this is just not even the same team anymore. Like he first snap on time, slant out like Adam Thielen, easy, like 6 yards. Like these were easy throws, easy plays to make that they just couldn't even do previous weeks. And the fact that it took 2 weeks and then go to this, it almost makes me wonder if Canales the entire time wanted just Andy Dalton. He basically just had to show management, like, look, this is the guy you want. I played him for 2 weeks. We see what we have. Let me play my guy for 1 week, and we'll just see, see where we're at. Uh, Again, I don't think the Raiders are a great team, but I do think that defense is decent. So to be putting up that many points is definitely a testament to the offense. I don't know where this will take the Panthers. I still don't see how they're going to be winning much more than maybe 5 or 6 games, but at least it'll make the games watchable for the rest of the year. So I can enjoy that.
The Raiders defense is supposed to be good, but they're
Yeah.
not according to the
They,
numbers.
yeah.
Their coverage on D, 34.5, is their rating out of 100. That's last in the league, according to PFF. Anthony Pierce at the podium said players made business decisions this week. What he meant by that was players gave up. That's not a good sign if you're in week 3, and you're the new coach who was an interim coach last year. I think the stat that really shows this is the Raiders just tackling. They're rated at 29.2. That's last in the league. It's not even close to second to last. Tackling's kind of an effort stat. Like when you give up, your tackling goes down. The fact that that defense gave up against the Panthers, that's very struggling to me if you're Anthony Pierce, because he's supposed to be a motivation, defensive players coach. What's happening there?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree. Like tackling is an effort stat. They did play Derrick Henry last week, which is not going to be great for the tackling stats, I would assume. And J.K. Dobbins ran all over him the week before, but uh, I think what the coach is trying to do here basically is to kind of charge up his guys a little bit, like call them out a little bit, but like try and get them going. Obviously, like they had a bad game against a team that they thought they would probably beat, and it's a long season. They're I don't really know if the Raiders are like a playoff team, but I think the big news for them is going to be where they go at quarterback. I know that there's definitely some consideration to go with Aiden O'Connell
For
instead
how
of
good Gardner Minshew is
yeah.
sometimes he makes some terrible throws. Not even close to where they're supposed to be. Last thing on this game, do you think Bryce Young will play as a Panther ever again this season, next season? Uh, as a fan, what do you want? And as an analyst, what do you actually think?
I think it seems that the organization does not want to trade him. So that means Andy Dalton will play X amount of games until we make the playoffs? No, that's not happening. So at some point in time, when you're out of the playoff race and it doesn't matter, you are invested, literally first overall pick into this guy. You're kind of hoping maybe sitting him for a bit has settled him, get him learning the system. I think at some point in time later in this year, Bryce Young will start a game. It may be late in the year. They may ride Andy Dalton for 3 months. Uh, it might be kind of like the last 2-3 games of the year, but I do think he probably starts another game. I don't really see it going well. I don't know how the whole thing will end, but I think the Panthers just flat out kind of whiffed here, and just kind of seems like going to be a few more years of just being bad until they can get everything sorted.
Yeah. All right, the Colts beat the Bears 21-16. The Bears have no run game. I have Swift on my fantasy team, and I've been
He's
keeping him on the bench. It's not looking good. Their O-line is abysmal. They have the fewest yards per play in the NFL. That's a really big deal. That's bad. How long will this coaching staff last if it continues like this? Because you're not getting rid of Caleb Williams. I want you to look at the coaches in this division. You got Dan Campbell, Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell, and then Eberflus. That just sticks out like a sore thumb. You have the worst
Yes.
coach in the division, and those guys aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So I think you got to make some changes at coach, defensive guy, last yards per play, terrible O line. Let's get Caleb some help. It's not looking good for that coaching staff after a couple weeks.
Yeah, this defense is going to have to be the one to win them some games. The offense is just not clicking right now. Uh, I do agree that I think this will probably be an open head coaching slot at the end of the year. Um, I'm guessing Eberflus will probably land on his feet, DC somewhere. But it just hasn't really worked out. I think they were kind of hoping Caleb would be a little bit more of a spark, especially with the weapons they brought in to put around him. But it's just tough to tell with how bad this offensive line has been. Run game, no push. Pass game, Caleb's running for his life. Now he definitely holds the ball for a little too long in times, but still they're on him pretty quick. So it's just this offense is just not working how it was supposed to.
Yeah. One thing that really kind of got to me this week was when Roma Dunze got his first touchdown grab and they like jostled over the ball in a jokingly way of who's getting to keep it. They had to burn a timeout because they were celebrating that touchdown. Did that cost them the game? Probably not, but
They should
that's
never
just
have called
like
time.
they should have never had to have called a timeout
They should have
for
never called timeout.
why?
Why would you call a timeout?
Because they were going to get a penalty for the excessive
A delay of
celebration.
game penalty. How much? How many yards is a delay of game penalty?
It doesn't matter. It's the principle. It's the principle that all of that happened. And it just seems childish. It's like you're supposed to be the best quarterback prospect ever.
Okay.
It's like throw your touchdown pass, get on the side. Like,
Yeah, he's joking. Have it. That's not on them. They're on the sideline. Whatever. Get the kicking guys set out there. That's not on them. That's a coaching error. And then compounding the coaching error is calling a timeout. Who cares if you kick your extra point from 5 yards farther? You have Cairo Santos, dude. Like you have a good kicker. What's an extra point? 30, 38 yards now? 33, 38 yards? What is it? From 15? So it's 33 yards, right? So you got to.
I want to say it's from 38.
So it's from the 20.
I believe it's from the 20. They backed it up, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah. So what? He's got to make a 43-yard extra point. Like, dude's making that. I just. Why would you burn a timeout to save yourself 5 yards on an extra point?
All right. To me, it's
That
something.
that is
Coaching
that is
Caleb.
stupid.
I don't like it. Last thing I want to talk about of this game is Anthony Richardson. Terrible. The Colts won this game despite his play, not because of him. 10 for 20, 167, two interceptions. Anthony Richardson on the year now has 6 picks and 3 touchdowns. I want to point this out. The Colts have the best pass blocking O line in the league, number one ranked on PFF. They have the 30th ranked passing offense. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. If your pass blocking is that good, you should not be 30th ranked in passing offense. Anthony Richardson is
Yep.
inaccurate, throwing picks. With an offensive mind like Shane Steichen, I don't know how long he's going to want to be watching football like that be played.
Yeah, I mean, it's just with Anthony Richardson, you're gonna have high highs, you're gonna have crazy highlight plays, and then you're gonna have very low lows. Just I I think I saw it was maybe a tweet or a comment. Basically, it was Anthony Richardson will make throws that 99% of NFL quarterbacks cannot make. And then he will also make throws or he will also miss throws that 99% of NFL quarterbacks will hit. It's basically, I mean, it's just a roller coaster there. And sometimes having Superman like that, having a guy that can go do that is good. But when theoretically you have a very good offensive mind as a coach who's putting guys in positions to make plays, you want those plays to be made. You don't want your quarterback to be basically causing them not to be made. So I think obviously like the appeal of having him is the running ability, the ability that I mean he just can throw the ball 80 yards or whatever. But for him to basically have staying power in the NFL, yeah, he's going to have to learn how to just complete a 10-yard pass
Yeah,
and
I mean,
hit
I
his
think
guy.
the number one thing about being a quarterback in the NFL, if all else fails, at least be accurate with your ball. I would think he's throwing like, I want to say it's like 50% completion. It's not good, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last game we're going to talk about. Vikings beat the Texans 34-7. Texans have more time of possession, more yards per play, and get absolutely blown out. That's crazy to me. It's all because of the rushing game here. Texans have 38 yards of total rushing. They have no Mixon. The Vikings rushed for 118. CJ Stroud without a run game. Just a normal guy.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a weird game for
That's
them.
every quarterback though. I mean, it's not just it's
Eh,
not.
I feel like at times he was just kind of doing it all for them last year, but they didn't have like a whole. I mean, Damian Pierce was doing nothing at the beginning of the year last year, but beside the point, it's just this Vikings defense is giving guys fits so far. Whatever Brian Flores is doing is giving quarterbacks all kinds of issues. I don't know how much longer it's going to last. Green Bay potentially might not even be having a quarterback against them. They might just roll out the Malik Willis running back situation, and maybe that'll give them fits. I don't know. I'll be very interested to see how Flores fights that offense they've been running. But the Vikings are legit. I didn't really have a whole lot of faith in this team, and maybe I underrated Kevin O'Connell a little bit. He's got this offense cooking pretty well. I mean, Jefferson is obviously Jefferson, but Aaron Jones has been a pleasant surprise, and Sam Darnold is making it work with his weapons.
Yeah, this is without Addison and without Hawk
Mhm.
as well. Once those
Yeah.
guys come back, they might be rolling, and that defense is looking good. The Vikings were kind of a team that was just a quarterback away, and now that they have Sam Darnold who's playing well, we're like, oh wait, the Vikings are a good team and are a good roster. I mean,
I think a lot of people thought that defense was going to be pretty bad though, and they've been the opposite of that. So
yeah,
I think that's led to a lot of it. But Sam Darnold obviously being a lot better than people expected has been a nice surprise too.
yeah. All right, let's get into our power rankings. At number 10, I got Seattle 3-0. Highest rated defense, Geno, 75% completion percentage. Mike McDonald from Baltimore to Seattle is doing a great job. They haven't really played anyone yet, so we're going to see going forward. At 9, I got the Saints 2-1. The Saints are for real. The numbers back it up. I thought they should be 3-0, but the NFC South is a division for them to take this year, and they're looking good. At 8, I got Philly 2-1. They just played the Saints. They beat them. They're going to go one ahead of them. Once they get AJ Brown back, they should start rolling. Jalen Hurts is a different quarterback when AJ Brown's not on the field. At 7, I got the Texans 2-1. I still think this team has great players. The Texans without a run game is just not quite the same. I'm not sure if this was a one-off week or if it's something to watch for moving forward. At 6, I got the Ravens at 1-2. I think they're the only team in here with a losing record. They are. They lead the NFL in yards per play. That's a big deal. Lamar is averaging 318 yards per game. They got the Bills and the Bengals next. At 5, we got the Packers. They are 2-1. LaFleur and Malik Willis are putting it together. Their defense is leading the league in picks at 7. At number 4, we got the Lions, 2-1. They have the best O line. They have 2 good running backs. Goff threw the ball 23 times last week. That's what I want to see. Rely on the run, rely on the defense. At 3, just talked about them, the Vikings, 3-0. They have the most sacks in the NFL at 16. O'Connell and Darnold are playing great. Addison and Hawk are not even playing, but once they get back, they're going to be rolling even stronger. Aaron Jones looks good. At 2, we got the Bills, 3-0. They are honestly better without Diggs. Allen and Joe Brady are killing it, and they're running the ball well. And at 1, we got the Chiefs, 3-0. Best quarterback, best coach, not the best roster, but it doesn't matter. They're 3-0. They're not playing great yet, but they're winning. That was our power rankings. All right, new segment here called Buy or Sell. Got some information. Andrew's going to tell me if he's buying it or selling it. Let's start off with Pittsburgh will win the AFC North.
I'm selling. I still think the Ravens take that one.
Seattle will win the NFC West.
I'm selling this one. I still believe San Fran will get healthy enough to sneak it out at the end.
Cowboys will miss the playoffs.
I'm buying it, and it's partly because of how well Seattle has played so far, and the NFC South has been a pleasant surprise.
The 49ers will miss the playoffs. We know your answer. You just said it.
Telling that.
Vikings will win the NFC North.
I'm gonna sell that because I think the Packers win this week. I do think the Vikings have a real chance at the playoffs, though.
Last one. Bengals will miss the playoffs.
I'm buying that at this pace. It's going to be tough for them to make that comeback.
All right, that was buy or sell. Might try that out in some weeks to come. Let's get into some other talking points. Justin Fields, quarterback one in Pittsburgh, going forward. Will Russ play when he's healthy? Justin Fields has been a nice surprise. When you look at his stats here, I wouldn't even think I'm looking at Justin Fields. Number 19 fantasy quarterback, 73 completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. His rush attempts are going down every week, 14 in the first week, 8 in the second week, 6 in the third week. If you put those stats in front of me, I would not guess Justin Fields is the name to it.
Yeah, I'm cool with him running the ball. I just love if he's keeping the sacks down and the turnovers to a minimum, basically letting this defense work. I mean, this Steelers team is going to win based on possessing the football, playing tough, hard-nosed football, and then letting the defense win them games. And right now, Justin Fields is just not getting in the way of that. And pretty much that's all he needs to do, I think, to stay as quarterback one.
Look at the schedule coming up. We got Colts, Cowboys, Raiders. 3 not very good teams. There's a world where the Pittsburgh Steelers are 6-0. Let's say that happens. If they're 6-0 and Fields is playing serviceable, I don't think you can thrust Russ back into this offense at any point unless things get absolutely wild.
No, I don't think there's any need to. I mean, if Fields is showing that he can play at this level, why do that? I know they made the trade for us and everything, but Fields is a younger player. Like guys have shown, like they get to different places and they kind of can put it together. I know it's not like he's slinging it all over the field, but he's been pretty efficient with it so far, and I see no reason why they can't make it work.
Yeah. Let's get to the next one here. Who's going to win the NFC South? Before the season, I think we were all just like, yeah, it's the Falcons. They have the easiest schedule. They have the best team. Now it's, I mean, not so obvious. The Saints are good. The Bucks are viable. The Panthers just won a game. Who, who do you think is going to win the NFC South? The Panthers won a game.
Yeah, I'm still going to go with the Falcons. Both of the Falcons' losses are to teams that are 3-0. And then their win was against Philly in a primetime game. They've played some tough teams so far, but I think they're putting it together. They've looked a little better each week. Even that Chiefs game, I thought they looked good at times. It's still not like perfectly there yet. But I think the Falcons still will win that division. Saints have surprised me the most. I think the Buccaneers are also going to be there. There's a world where like I could see any of those 3 teams really making the playoffs. And I do think it's reasonably realistic that 2 of them could make the playoffs. So, but I still got the Falcons winning.
Yeah, I think the Saints are just being 2-1, and they actually have an easier schedule remaining than the Falcons do at this moment. But yeah, Saints or Falcons, I think either one is gonna win it. I don't think the Bucks numbers back up the 2-1 record. I think they'll be borderline. Let's talk Malik Willis for a minute. As a Tennessee Titan in 2022, he played 8 games. He went 31 of 61 for a 50% completion percentage. He threw for 276 yards over 8 games. He had 0 touchdowns. He had 3 interceptions, and his passer rating was a 42. As a Packer, it is a different person. 3 games played, 25 for 34, 74% completion percentage, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and a passer rating of 122.7. This is all coaching. Matt LaFleur, good organization. Mm-hmm. You're not with the Titans. These offensive coaches with young quarterbacks that are getting tossed around, they're making them a career.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what LaFleur's done. I mean, essentially reworked how that entire offense works, but they're making it work. I mean, they're running the ball, they're attacking on the edge, they're using their wide receivers in space, they're rotating running backs. It's kind of a whole team effort. Everybody's sort of getting the ball, but it's just a bunch of different guys running the ball. You don't really know where it's coming from, and they've definitely made it work. Obviously, the improvement of that defense has been a big part of their wins as well. I think my buddy's a Packers fan. I think he said they already matched their entire interception total from last year
7.
in
Yep.
3 games. So
Yep.
that's really wild. But
Where do you have Matt LaFleur on your coaching number? Do you think he's top 5 in the league, top 10, top 3? Where do you have him? I mean, he's
I'd
definitely a
have to
top
make
10 coach. Where do
I'd
you?
have to make the list out. Yeah, but top 10, I would think for sure. I mean, he's every year they're winning, 10 plus games. They're making the playoffs every year, and he's done it with different guys. So no, definitely he deserves some serious credit for this.
All right, this is a new segment as well. It's called Fact or Fiction. I'm going to read some stats out here. Andrew is going to tell me if he thinks that is fact or he thinks this is fiction. He has not seen any of these. All right, first one, we will start off. Sam Darnold is the number 4 overall fantasy quarterback right now.
Fact.
That is a fact. Jawan Jennings has more fantasy points than Justin Jefferson.
Fact.
That is a
I believe
fact.
I believe he's 3
Yeah,
or
Jawan
4.
Jennings has 63. Justin Jefferson has 59. According to Pro Football Focus, Jared Goff this season is a top 25 quarterback.
Fiction. He's been terrible.
Yeah, number 31, down there with Williams, Levis, Skylar Thompson, Bryce Young. According to PFF, Jayden Daniels this season is a top 10 quarterback.
I'll go with fact. I'll buy it.
It is a fact. He's number 8, right there with Justin Fields.
Wow.
According to PFF, Saquon Barkley is the best running back this season.
I'll go with fact. He's
That
looked good.
is fiction. He is number 10. DJ Montgomery with the Lions is actually number one rusher this season. Not yards, but efficiency.
Yeah.
According to PFF, the 49ers offense is performing in the bottom third of the league.
I call fiction on that.
It is. The 49ers still have the number 2 offense, even with all those weapons. Tried to trick you there with the bottom third, but
no.
made you think for a second, but yeah. Last one here. Brandon Aubrey, kicker for the Cowboys, has more fantasy points than his teammate CeeDee Lamb.
Fact. He would also be the number 1 tight end in fantasy right now and a top 5 running back, I believe.
Yep, that is a fact. Aubrey has 50 fantasy points, which is 16.6 points per game. CD is at 41.3, which comes out to 13.7 points per game. I like that. I like that game. All right. Candidate for first coach to get fired. I have the odds here. I don't agree with a lot of these. What do you think? Who's your candidate for the first coach to get the can?
Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson, plus 400, second on the
Sooner
odds
rather
list.
than later.
Sooner rather than later?
It's coming. I don't think he's making it a whole lot longer with how the Jags have been going.
I'm gonna go Eberflus at plus 1,000.
I think with the rookie
Fifth on the
quarterback,
list.
I think he gets a longer leash with the rookie quarterback and getting that whole thing sorted. Jags have Texans this week on the road. They lose that, they play the Colts the next week. If they lose that, 0-5, I'm not really sure how he's surviving that.
All right, I can see it. Last undefeated team. We got 5 of them. Vikings, Seahawks, Bills, Chiefs, Steelers. Who's going to be the last one standing?
I was going back and forth on this. The Vikings, Bills, and Seahawks all have tough stretches over the next 3 games.
They do.
So I was kind of down to actually the Chiefs and the Steelers. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs just because I think they're the better team. But the Steelers do have a pretty reasonable route to getting to at least 6-0.
They do. Steelers got Colts, Cowboys, Raiders. So very reasonable to get to 6-0. Yeah, Chiefs right there. Chargers, Saints, 49ers, Bills, Seahawks, and Vikings. I expect all of them to drop at least one game in the next 3 weeks. Yeah, I agree with you. All right, let's get into fantasy. Week 3 booms. Who boomed this week? There was a lot of them.
Shout out my Carolina Panther, Chuba Hubbard.
Yep.
Huge week. Obviously, Andy Dalton had the offense moving up and down the field, staying on the field. The run game was working. He was getting some action in the passing game. Big week for him. And obviously, hope to see more of that with Andy Dalton under center. Aaron Jones, huge week against the Texans. Texans defense had looked strong, but he still showed up. 100 yards. He got in the end zone. Receiving, great game. Dallas Goedert went insane against the Saints this week. Had 170 yards. Torched them, obviously with no AJ Brown. That allowed him to get some more action. Then in the same game, Amari Cooper and Malik Neighbors both had 2 touchdowns. Big weeks for them. Derrick Henry, obviously we talked about it. They ran all over the Cowboys. He would look like, prime Henry. It was a typical Derrick Henry game. He just steamrolled them. Got a shot at Jawan Jennings. We talked about him earlier. He
46 and a
did
half
everything.
fantasy points.
Huge,
46 and a
huge.
half. Woo.
Yeah, I think we just talked about. I think he might be wide receiver 4 on the year,
He is.
simply off this
Yep.
one week, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Huge week against the Rams. And then Kyron Williams also against the 49ers. I believe he got in the end zone 3 times, 2 rushing, 1
I don't
receiving.
see Kyron Williams stopping anytime soon.
Yeah.
The weapons are out, and the Rams O-line is not bad, actually. So they're just going to keep pounding him until those weapons come back. Let's get into a couple others. The Jets defense put up 17 points against New England. Saquon, 33 fantasy points, 2 touchdowns. Rashee Rice keeps it going with 12 grabs and a touchdown for 29 points. We'll shout out Jayden Daniels, 28 fantasy points as the rookie. We said this last week. Zach Charbonnet is going to have a week. He did 25.7 fantasy points and 2 touchdowns. Who busted this week?
Your boy on the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson, had
Yep.
an absolute flop of a week on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't get anything going against the Jets. I think we mentioned this on the podcast last week because he'd gone off against 2 other teams, and then we're like, okay, well, now he's playing a terrible secondary. Rashid Shaheed did not have a catch in the
0 for
game.
5.
Yeah, 5 targets, did not have a catch, so that definitely
That
flopped.
being said, he did have an opportunity for a bomb,
Yes.
and he dropped.
Yes.
He didn't make the catch.
Yeah, it was contested, but yes.
That was the week he should have gone off, and he didn't. So
Yeah.
that's what we're going to play with Rashid Shaheed this year. Should he go off?
Exactly.
Yes. He will not. Will he not go off? Yes. Put him in.
Mike Evans did basically nothing against Denver. I think we might have to start fading outside wide receivers against the Broncos. Surtain's just that good. He's locking dudes up. DeAndre Swift, you talked about him flopping for you. He has been potentially historically inefficient so far this year. I'm not
I don't
sure
know
he's
if I can blame him.
I don't think he's averaged 2 yards a carry in a game yet. Every game, he's he had 14 carries for 19 yards. It's awful. Michael Pittman against the Bears on the other side of that game. He just needs volume to be a good receiver, and they're only throwing 20 passes a game. He's not going to get volume enough to be an efficient receiver, or not efficient receiver, but to be a valuable fantasy asset for you. If he's only getting 5 targets, he's not going to do a whole lot with that. So he busted this week, and things are not looking great for him going forward. Tyreek has just not got anything going on. Obviously, his quarterback was horrible. Hopefully, Tyler Huntley plays this week for the Dolphins. That would greatly improve some of the prospects of those wide receivers. Skylar Thompson's terrible. Mark Andrews ran 4 routes for the entire game. I don't know if you knew that, but 4 routes. He did not catch a pass, so big bust there against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I want to. You know how on Sleeper you can rename players? Give them a nickname?
Yeah, nicknames. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll shout out Justin. He renamed Mark Andrews left tackle, which is what he is now.
Well, he didn't even. He blocked a bit. He only played 30% of the snaps. It's not like he just blocked every play. He just flat out barely played. And then when he was in, I guess he did mostly blocking. They only threw 15 passes all game, but still. Let's put it this way. There was a 3rd down late in the game that was okay, must get 3rd down to put the game away. and Mark Andrews is not even on the field. Like, not even on the field. So he might just be full washed. I have no idea. Or something is going on there that we just don't know about. And then lastly, JMO, he's had some big weeks this year, but he had one catch for like 8 or 9 yards against Cardinals this week. Might see a little bit of Shaheed there where it's like he's going to have some huge blow up weeks and then maybe some weeks where he's a little bit more quiet.
All right, I'm gonna shout out the Cowboys D -6 points. That is terrible. Same thing with the Raiders, -5 points. Ugh, you can't be losing 5 and 6 points on your defense in fantasy. That is a killer right there. I'm gonna throw Brandon Ayuk on here. 9.8 fantasy points. I'm gonna give that a bust because I
Yeah.
think Ayuk fantasy owners were looking for that 25, 30 point burger this week, and
Everybody thought he was going huge. Yeah.
5 catches, 48
Good call.
yards. Just that's a bust in my eyes for this week. All right, let's move on to next week. Week 4 starts. Let's target some good starts here. What do you like?
So I'm going back to my Panthers. This is a little get back game for Andy Dalton. You know he's gonna be excited to play the Bengals. And Adam Thielen just got put on IR. Deontay is probably getting double digit targets if I had to guess this game. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in the end zone again. I think it's gonna be another huge week for Deontay Johnson.
I like it.
We talked about the Dallas run D. It is bad. I'm running Devin Singletary out there against
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
I think the Giants are going to have to run the ball in that game, and I think they will be able to. And lastly, I'm going to throw a little bit of flyer out there. I think JSN versus the Lions is in play this week. I think this is a game where the Seahawks, it could just be a shootout. They might have to be coming back. I think he's going to get a decent bit of work. First week he didn't have much. Then week 2 he had like 16 targets. Then this past week he only had like 3 or 4 targets. I think this is a game where it kind of levels itself back out and he gets a decent bit of work. He's been pretty good this year.
All right, I'm gonna go Tank Dell versus the Jags. That secondary is not good. I think he gets some work. I like Odunze versus the Rams. He just showed up last week pretty well, and the Rams defense is looking pretty sketchy. And I like Brian Robinson at the Cardinals. The Cardinals, their offense is good, but their defense is a little sketchy for me as well. Who are some week 4 sits?
So I was going back and forth on it. I actually had a harder time finding sits this week. So maybe that'll mean that offenses can
I did
do some
too.
stuff this
I
week.
did too. Yeah.
Uh, I don't love J.K. Dobbins against the Chiefs this week. I think they're going to be struggling in this game, especially if Herbert's not playing. This offense may struggle to move the ball. He might get there with some passing work. He has caught a few passes, but definitely not a great spot for him. I'm going to go with Christian Watson against Minnesota. I think Green Bay has done a good job with what they've done with their offense, but this defense has been legit. I think that they're going to be a lot more just sticking to the run. It's not going to be many deep shots. Maybe he gets there with like some end around and stuff, but definitely concerns me there. Not going to be starting him. And then lastly, Javonte Williams against the Jets. That Jets run D was very stout this past week. And I just don't think it's going to be a great game for Javonte. Again, I think you'd pretty much be hoping for 5-6 catches to get what you need fantasy wise out of him.
Sam Darnold, number 4 quarterback right now, is playing Green Bay, who has 7 interceptions. So if Darnold threw a pick or two this game, it wouldn't surprise me. Tony Pollard versus Miami. Miami has a decent run D. I don't like Pollard this week. Anthony Richardson versus Pittsburgh. I don't see Anthony Richardson doing much on that Pittsburgh D. And I'm going to throw Pittman in there to match with him. Just not a good week for the Colts offensively. I liked Zach Charbonnet last week. I don't like him versus Detroit this week. I would keep him on the bench.
Okay.
Give me some waiver wire players to look at. There's a couple of them that are some good players that are chilling on the waiver wire right now.
Is that the same stout Miami run D that shut down James Cook the other week? Or what?
No, 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 no. The Miami run D actual numbers are not that bad. I'd have to look it up again. I looked it up
Okay.
earlier, but they were surprisingly not as bad as I thought.
Okay.
And I don't like Miami. I don't like
Wait,
Pollard against Miami.
didn't they just play Seattle this past week? Charbonnet just went crazy too.
Yeah, but
Or am I tripping?
he's got it getting it all off catching volume. Charbonnet went 5 for 5 for like 50
Okay.
yards.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yep.
All right. You said waiver wire pickups?
That's what I was talking about Charbonnet last week. I was like,
Yeah.
I got to get him in the game because of his total volume that he's getting. He's
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
like 10 rushes, but
He's getting so many
he's literally
snaps.
half
Yeah.
a receiver, I mean, so that's
Yeah.
why I like him on
He's
his
getting a
numbers.
ton of snaps. Yeah.
Yeah. But this week Charbonnet versus Detroit, I don't like it. I
Yeah.
it I actually think the Detroit Seattle game is going to be extremely low scoring. You're looking at two of the best defenses in the league, and Goff is not playing well. And
I don't think Seattle's defense is that great. I think they've been skewed a bit because they got to play the Patriots, the Broncos, and Skylar Thompson
or are we
Dolphins.
underrating Mike McDonald coming from Baltimore to Seattle and Baltimore's
I think
defense not being as good this year?
their defense might be okay,
We'll
but
see what
I'm just
happens. We'll
saying
see what
let's
happens.
temper the
Yeah.
expectations on that Seahawks defense because they've played horrible offenses so far.
All right. Let's
Anyway,
finally get to the
waiver
waiver
wire pickup.
wire. Yep.
Top guys I'm looking at. Sam Darnold's been very good. I know the matchup isn't great this week, but potentially Hawkinson coming back a little later this year. You got Addison coming back at some point. Things do look up for him potentially when he gets those guys. So I like going and grabbing him.
I picked up Darnold in week 2 off the waiver wire
Yeah,
because I have Justin Jefferson on my team, and boy, has that been nice, those two together.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then
continue.
I also like Geno. I think in this game against Detroit, I think they're going to be throwing a lot. And because I don't think that they'll be able to run the ball super efficiently, like you said, with the Lions run D. So I think with volume, I think naturally you're going to get some decent yards and maybe you could get some touchdowns, even if it does end up being like garbage time or late game mop up, whatever. Uh, Running back wise, you got to go get Bucky Irving. The coach came out and said he's got to get more reps. Rashad White's been unbelievably inefficient. Bucky Irving is averaging almost 3 times more yards per carry than Rashad White right now. It's only a matter of time there. And that's an offense that has actually been quite good. So definitely some potential fantasy points to be had there. And then Braylon Allen for the Jets looked really, really nice. I know they have Brees Hall, but he's almost like a handcuff plus where he's still getting some work. Like he's definitely a great handcuff for Brees, but he's still getting some work and he's looked really, really explosive in that action. So I would go grab him if he's there. Wide receiver wise, if Jawan Jennings is still out there, go get him. Obviously, we saw what he did last week. Most leagues he probably won't be, but if he's out there, and then I'll throw one little one. Keep an eye on Jahan Dotson this week. If AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are both out for this game, he becomes an instant smash play. There is a real possibility both those guys could be out, and somebody in that Eagles offense is going to catch the ball. And Goddard obviously went crazy last week, but still, this is a game against the Buccaneers that I think should have a decent bit of scoring. So good option there. And then at tight end, things are looking rough, man. For all tight end owners,
I mean, I'm looking at my
nobody's
waiver
scoring.
wire. Cole Kmet is there, number 3 tight
That was
end,
the one name I was going to
because
say.
of the one big game. Like he's kind of a boomer bust guy where he's gonna have a
So
big game or nothing, I feel like. But
the one thing that's weird there, so he played way more snaps this past week. Um,
I was high on him to start the
uh,
year, and the first 2 weeks kind of turned me off to him, obviously. But
well, yeah, week one he did basically nothing. Week two he had like a little bit of work. But Gerald Everett had been playing like crazy amount of snaps the first 2 weeks for no reason. Like not a better player than Cole Kmet. That finally changed this past week where Cole Kmet was getting a ton of the work and he actually did something with it. I don't know if that comes more because of a game script where they just ended up throwing more. They threw like a million times this week, but as long as he's on the field more at this rate, definitely very startable. Obviously, with rookie quarterbacks, tight ends become very friendly to them, so could end up being a good play if you need one.
yeah, I am looking at next 2 weeks alone. Tutu Atwell, the Rams are kind of just using him everywhere.
Mhm.
He even almost threw a touchdown pass this week. He threw like a
He was a quarterback
yeah.
in high school
No,
at
they're
Miami
using him
Northwestern.
all over the field as a chess piece to do literally whatever they need. Next 2 weeks, then they have a bye. Then we'll see where Puka and Cup are. But yeah, I like him for the next couple weeks. Andre, I don't want to mess this up. Iosivas is wide receiver number 31 for the Bengals. With Chase and Higgins in there, he still got work. And Joe Burrow was targeting him and seems to like him. So I guess you can get him in there maybe. Lastly, Alan Lazard is the number 15 wide receiver and just not rostered by a lot of people. So if you're really looking for a wide receiver, grab Lazard, I guess. Um, let's get to the games. I'm gonna get through the lines here. Thursday night, we got Cowboys at Giants. Giants getting 5.5. Sunday, 1 p.m. window. Saints at Falcons. Falcons favored by 1.5. Steelers at Colts. Colts getting 2. Jags at Texans. Texans -7. Vikings at Packers. Packers -2.5. Bengals at Panthers. Panthers +4.5. Rams at Bears. Bears -3. Broncos at Jets. Jets 7.5 point favorite. Eagles at Bucks. Bucks getting 2.5. 4 p.m. window. Commanders at Cardinals. Cardinals 3.5 point favorite. Pats at 49ers. 49ers 10 point favorite. Browns at Raiders. Raiders 1 point favorite. Chiefs at Chargers. Chargers getting 8. 8 p.m. night game. We get Bills at Ravens. Ravens are favored by 2.5. Monday, another 2 games. We get Titans at Dolphins. Pick them. Seahawks at Lions. Lions favored by 3.5. What is your must-win game this week?
There was really only one option, in my opinion. I think it has to be the Bengals. They have to win this week playing at the Panthers. You cannot go to 0-4. It's truly a must win. Obviously, Andy Dalton for the Panthers is going to be really wanting that win against his old team. But the Bengals cannot afford another loss.
Yeah. I got the Cowboys at the Giants. You can't drop this game on Thursday and go to 1-3 as the Cowboys. Kind of a must-win game there.
Yeah.
All right. Last week I went 1-3. That brings me to 2-8 on the season. Ice cold. Andrew,
They picked 4 games last week.
I did. I gave a bonus pick that Thursday game. That Patriots pick. I'd almost only want to say it.
It's a waste.
All right, 2-8. I'm ice cold. I dove hard into the numbers this week. I got really into them. Gonna come back this week 3-0. I feel like now that I'm looking at the evidence, I can see who is doing really good and really bad in certain aspects, and hopefully pinpoint them this week. Last week, Andrew 3-0 brings him up to 3-5-1. We are both down on the season. But now that we have our information, our facts, know who's really doing what, I think we're going to come back strong these next few weeks. What are your bets this week?
I'm not missing again until October. All right, starting off, taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers +2.5. Home game against the Eagles. Home dog against potentially an Eagles team that might not have either of their top 2 weapons. Yes, please. I think Tampa could very well just win that game. Philly hasn't looked that great yet. So I like that pick there. Next, I'm going Houston, touchdown favorite at home against the Jags. Jags are a mess right now. Houston just got whipped pretty good last week. They're not going to be happy about that. They're going to come back with a vengeance, especially against a division opponent. And I think the Jags are kind of at the point where, Texans get up 10 points, 2 touchdowns up, whatever, they're going to kind of roll over, and that game gets ugly again. And lastly, I'm taking the Steelers -1.5 against the Colts. This is not a great matchup for the Colts. Steelers are going to stop that offense pretty well, in my opinion. They're built to stop the run. They're going to force Anthony Richardson to throw, which he cannot do. They're going to possess the ball, working down the field, do what they got to do. It might be kind of low scoring and ugly, but the Steelers are taking that game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Steelers -1.5. This is a bad spot for the Colts. They're going to have to run the ball, which the Steelers are good at protecting. They're going to make Anthony Richardson throw it, and he can't do that against the Steelers. I got the Cardinals -3.5. The Cardinals offense is legit, and the Commanders defense is not. In order for the Commanders to win games, they have to score a lot of points. Short week for them. I like the Cards in a blowout here. And then I'm taking Seattle +3.5 on Monday night. Both these defenses are legit, both Seattle and the Lions. I'm very concerned about Goff and how he's playing. I could see him throwing probably even 2 picks on Monday night to Seattle. I like Seattle getting the points at +3.5. All right, those are our bets for the week. Lock them in. Any last notes here heading into week 4?
Panthers going to 2-2 or a playoff team, baby.
All right, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at screenplay_podcast. New episodes every Wednesday. Don't forget, if you want to get your $100 deposit match from Sleeper, all you have to do is go to our Instagram page, click the link for promo codes, pick on over, under. It's easy. Love the app, love the Sleeper app. Go to our page, click the link, get your $100 deposit match. All right, we will see y'all next week and have a good week of NFL football.